Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the iPhone 12 Pro Max and compare it against the iPhone 11 Pro Max and see which particular phone is a better one for you. Now, I will definitely tell you between both these devices, there's really one that is probably the better one, which is the iPhone 12 Pro Max. But for some people, the 11 Pro Max might still be a pretty good deal, and we'll talk about that completely throughout this video. Now, if you want to pick up either one of these phones, links will be linked down in the description. You can get them from there, and you can help support the channel at the same time. Now, starting off with the outside of both of these phones, you can see that they both look fairly similar. There's definitely some overlap here for sure. The iPhone 11 Pro Max, which came out back in 2019 on the front, has a 6.5-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display, or it's a Super Retina OLED display. And it was a good panel nonetheless. I like the screen a lot. This is actually an aftermarket display, but even this aftermarket display is pretty good too, which is pretty crazy. These panels got fairly bright for the most part. You did have the notch up top, which is kind of hard to see with this particular wallpaper and everything, but it's still a very good looking phone. I still think it looks great. And for the most part, it's a big phone, but I do feel like these phones don't feel as big as they used to. Like these phones used to feel very, 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 very big. Now they don't really feel as big as they used to. But the 12 Pro Max definitely feels like a bigger phone because it is an overall kind of bigger phone. On the iPhone 12 Pro Max, you are getting a 6.7-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display. I would probably say this is a better panel. Maybe it's because I'm comparing an aftermarket to the real one, but they probably are way more similar than that. But this panel is actually very good. You still have the notch up top, basically the same size, but it is a bigger display. So some people may prefer having that bigger display. I remember back in 2020 when I did this comparison, I also felt like the display was bigger. I still feel the exact same way. This is a pretty big display when it comes down to it. But ever since they made this phone, they've made all the phones the same exact size. So it still looks great. I don't have that much to complain about. I used to actually not like the flat size that we were getting on the 12 Pro Max for a while, but now I actually like it. I think it's a lot more modern, especially if you're getting these gold colors of the iPhone 12 Pro Max. Look at that reflection. It looks like a slab of gold in your hands. The 11 Pro Max also had a gold model, and I had the gold 11 Pro, and I would still say those phones feel and look very, very good as well. But there is just something about the iPhone 12 Pro Max that I like a lot. It definitely feels and looks very, very good from a lot of different things that I've tested on this particular phone, and the flat side is definitely more modern. On the back side, I do have like a cracked back on both of these phones actually, but you can see the camera setup's fairly similar for the most part. There really isn't anything super insane going on here. You still have the LiDAR sensor that got added with the 12 Pro Max that's been on every phone since then. Flat sides, frosted glass backs too, which is a really, really nice touch. I love having a frosted glass back, and you were getting that on both these devices, which is genuinely very cool. The big thing here, though, is that with the iPhone 12 Pro Max, you are getting this frosted glass back with its MagSafe capability right there, which again is genuinely very cool. I love having that, MagSafe capability right here. And when I'm looking back, that's one of my most favorite things on these particular devices, that you have the type of capability right there, which genuinely is actually very, very cool. You're getting wireless charging, IP certification on both phones as well. And overall, I would still say both these devices look and feel very, very good. If I'm going to go through and have some sort of device, I definitely like and prefer having a device that is this type of build quality, and they both look and feel very, very good when it comes down to it. So from that perspective alone, that kind of covers it up there. Now from the software side, this is also one interesting thing going on here, because if you're going to go through and buy a new device, you probably want it to have support for a long period of time. With these two devices, the iPhone 11 Pro Max is a year older than the 12 Pro Max. I would probably say that the 12 Pro Max is going to last like another 3 years. This one may end up lasting like another 2 years or a year. Who knows? Like, I have no idea. But if I had to assume that's probably the lifespan, either way, the 12 Pro Max is probably going to outlast the 11 Pro Max when it comes down to it, which could be kind of a downside for some people, but I don't think it should be that big of a deal. You're still getting a 2-year-long software supported phone on the iPhone 11 Pro Max, so it's not the biggest deal in the world when it comes down to it. Now let's go and do a speed comparison. The 11 Pro Max has that Apple A13 Bionic chip inside of it with 4 gigabytes of RAM, where the iPhone 12 Pro Max has that Apple A14 Bionic chip inside of it with 4 gigabytes of RAM as well. So with 6 gigabytes of RAM actually in this particular model. So now let's go and see which one's the faster one between both. Okay, there we go. All the apps are clear in the background. The iPhone 12 Pro Max is here, 11 Pro Max is here. Phone calls 3, 2, 1. About the same thing. Music 3, 2, 1. And definitely the 12 Pro Max is faster. Mail 3, 2, 1. 12 Pro Max again is faster. Clock 3, 2, 1. Okay, hopping out of here. Let's go into camera 3, 2, 1. I actually don't know which one was the faster one. This one is taking the night mode shot. This one took a little bit more time. Let's get into settings, 3, 2, 1. Definitely, you're seeing some pretty big differences here. It definitely seems to me that the 12 Pro Max is overall faster. App Store 3, 2, 1, and we're only testing like the stock Apple actually Apple applications. I can't even say that right. So you can see what's kind of going on here. I don't know which one was faster here because they both got into like two different pop-ups. Scrolling through, not the biggest difference in the world. Hopping out of these two. Let's get into some other applications. We can try Temple Run 2, 3, 2, 1. And I mean, I'm assuming with every single app, the iPhone 12 Pro Max is going to be faster, but it's actually quite insane because I don't remember it being this big of a difference before. And this one actually wasn't as big of a difference as I thought it was going to be, but that still is quite an insane thing because the iPhone 12 Pro Max was still faster here than the iPhone 11 Pro Max, which again is a very, very crazy thing. Let's go and get into play. Now, I don't know if it's because this phone has a failing GPU or something like that. I don't think it did, but it's a very big difference. I'm very, very surprised about that. Hopping out of here. Let's do Netflix 3, 2, 1. Okay, a little closer, but the 12 Pro Max still won. Facebook 3, 2, 1. Oh, very similar here. That's very, very close. Try Snapchat 3, 2, 1. Okay, 12 Pro Max again is a faster one. We can try, let's hop out of here. iTunes Store 3, 2, 1. Okay, still the 12 Pro Max, and we can try Stack 3, 2, 1. But overall, as far as you can probably tell, I definitely do think the iPhone 12 Pro Max is probably the faster one when it came down to it. There's some instances where sometimes the iPhone 11 Pro Max seems faster, but I just think it's the pop-ups that are kind of throwing us off. I think overall the iPhone 11 Pro Max is still a good performing kind of phone, but the iPhone 12 Pro Max is the faster one when it comes down to it. So that kind of covers it up there. Now from the camera side, I definitely still think that both these cameras are actually fairly decent, but they were very, very similar. Even though with the iPhone 12 Pro Max, you were getting that LiDAR sensor, you were overall getting, I mean, very, very similar types of lenses. You're getting 4K at 60 on the fronts and the back, which is a very, very nice thing to have. I love having that type of capability, and you were getting that type of capability on both these phones, which is a very, very nice thing. Now, with the iPhone 11 Pro Max, this was the first iPhone to bring, or one of the first iPhones to bring that triple camera setup. So you could zoom in, 10x at the time, which is really cool. And then you had that 0.5x zoom as well, which is a very, very nice thing to have. You're getting video mode, slow mode, time lapse, portrait mode, panorama mode as well. And overall, for the most part, it was a very, very good sensor. I mean, it was good at the time. It still is like pretty decent. There really isn't anything super crazy going on with this particular phone though. Like, it's just pretty much what you'd expect your run-of-the-mill type of lens for this day and age. The iPhone 12 Pro Max is also, I would say, maybe it's a little bit better, but I never really found there to be this big of a difference between the iPhone 11 Pro Max camera and the 12 Pro Max camera. Very similar. You are getting 12x zoom versus the 10x zoom, which is again is a nice touch. You're still getting 0.5x zoom on the outside. There weren't any more features added though. Like there was basically the same type of camera lens all throughout. Maybe they could have done a little bit of a better job here and there, but for the most part, you were getting the same type of camera layout, and I would say maybe it's the same type of camera. Like it's definitely a better improvement, but I definitely feel like they could have done a little bit of a better job, and they ended up doing that with the iPhone 13. So to kind of sum it up, what I'll definitely tell you is if you are somebody who has something like an iPhone 12 Pro Max, you are definitely far better off, buying something like a 12 Pro Max and going up to this particular phone than staying with the 11 Pro Max or like buying an 11 Pro Max. I still think both these phones, you can go for the 11 Pro Max if you have a very outdated iPhone like an iPhone 6 or 7 or 8. But I would still say if you have the money, if you can go for it, the 12 Pro Max hardware-wise, at least on the outside, was a pretty big difference. You were getting a smaller size battery and stuff, but I do think if you want to, you could go up to something like the iPhone 12 Pro Max and have a really, really good time, and it probably is worth the upgrade over the 11 Pro Max. So that pretty much covers it up here. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.